Welcome, siblings of light. Glad to be here today. Blessings. I love today's lesson, the reminder it gives us that whatever suffers is not a part of me, and that I am an extension of God's love. I am love. I am light. I am wholeness. I am grace. I am joy. Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for your introductory words. Thank you, my dear brothers, for being here and joining with the Master Teacher's teachings and watching together like one part of a 1-hour video. We're staying in today in that series where we already watched in the last episode, an episode, and it is in the Cellular Mind Training series. And we will watch probably one of the most popular, most famous videos that he did. And it is A Course in Miracles, the first 50 lessons, in which we recognize our creative self-identity. And in this 1 hour, he does all the 50 review lessons. And we will watch the first part, which is basically the first 15 lessons. And we might hear it, or I don't know now if it is in the first or second part of that hour, that he says, first of all, you're going to get the result of your own mind. It's not going to do me any good to appear here within a fabric that you identify as a specialization of teaching of quantum in regard to the universal source of reality that's out there. Because if I'm going to train your mind systematically that this is not real, if I'm going to attempt to show you that the whole universe is out there, it's virtually impossible without mind training for you to recognize. Shall we share what? That everything that you're seeing within your own identity of yourself is justifying the arrangement that you hold about yourself in the correspondence that you find within your own identity of yourself. And so we will have an experience by joining with those first 15 lessons, what we maybe have had strongly experienced when we for the first time did those first 15 lessons, because it went completely back to me as, okay, this is up to me to take care of. This is up to me to admit that this is my perception, that this is in my mind, and it is up to me to change that in my mind. And this is really what the entire mind training of 365 lessons stands for. But maybe particularly, he made many times this emphasis of the first 50 lessons and also of the first 15 lessons. So let's see then what comes in our mind to share when we have watched this sequence. And without further ado, I will just bring in here the video to share.
The whole idea of this miracle is a momentary continuation of the idea of the possibility you're recognizing yourself. You see it? I couldn't resist it. I love the idea that there's a practice within your own mind that will give you an idea of what I'm offering you in a course of activity that you take about yourself, all right, with the one who is associated with it. It's good to see you again. Do you have this copy of A Course in Miracles? Are we using it as a parameter of how we're viewing ourselves? Does it require that I have thoughts about myself? Shall I again, in this quantum loop, shall I just for a moment again attempt to teach ideas about a course, an idea of mind training that would show me the difference in what I want to believe about myself? Look, and that new ideas about what I want to see can increase fabric of light association in a continuing recognition. Say to me, a different place.
A different place.
Okay. The first thing I did in this idea about our association of time, I hope, was take away from you the idea that time itself will not finally resolve the conflict of the place that you're in. That's all I really did. No, I don't intend to continue with this within the activity of our own minds. What I want to do with you is offer you my certainty that in the meticulation, in the idea of structure, in the idea of study, and the idea of teaching, there's a necessary part in you that must express and determine another alternative to this that's always available to you. Now, the recognition that the procedures of the offering I'm giving you are coming from a single universal mind may not for that moment be obvious to you, look with me, and that's why you need the mind training, isn't it? In other words, if I'm determined to offer you a parallel universe of my identity with myself, I'm going to have to admit somewhere, beginning very early in the teaching, that the world that I'm seeing out there is not who I really am. The surprise about this, shall I tell you, from the new quantum idea of self-expression that we're maintaining as ourself, we've begun to meet each other in another place and time. I'd love to show you how rapidly you can bring about a conversion within your own mind in the exercising of question and answers that you're getting about yourself within the frame of this Course in Miracles. Well, that looks like a pretty thick book. I wonder how I'm ever going to be able. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that at all. That's just a constant reminder to you that the manner of your self-discovery is not really concerned except that you must assume responsibility for two things. Shall I teach for a moment? First of all, you're going to get the result of your own mind. It's not going to do me any good to appear here within a fabric that you identify as a specialization of teaching of quantum in regard to the universal source of reality that's out there. Do you see that? Because if I'm going to train your mind systematically that this is not real, come on, if I'm going to attempt to show you that the whole universe is out there, it's virtually impossible without mind training for you to recognizing, shall we share what? Everything that you're seeing within your own identity of yourself is justifying the arrangement that you hold about yourself in the correspondence that you find within your own identity of yourself. Now, the enjoyment, let's use what we call the mind training of A Course in Miracles. Shall I go to ideas of cycle? In the first 50 days. Within the first 50 days, okay, will be everything that you need to know to lead you to a factor of increase in importance of what? First, I'm responsible for this. Now, that may not be totally recognizable to me at this time, but the idea that it can be recognized now, crucial, in the place that I'm in, are the crucial elements of the first 50 lessons. What it says is, I'm responsible for what I see, but I seem to be in a place where I can't recognize myself. Listen, you're not. You see that? Everything that you're seeing out in this world of universal mind is teaching you directly about your own consciousness identity as a Homo sapien, as an idea of body form in which all of your recognition of yourself in the idea of who you are only evidence of how you feel. But you've admitted this much. I am responsible for what I say. I'm choosing ideas that I want, and everything that's happening to me in that first 50 lessons, I've determined as the outcome that I want. Okay? There's a fabric I set up in an association where I can teach you in a time cycle the relevance of the division of the ideas of sequential time into periods of time that can represent the entirety of your association. I'm going to teach from my own whole mind. Everything that I'm expressing to you is from my certainty of the illuminate mind in which I am sharing with you my escape from the bondage of space-time. That's all. It's impossible that I am telling you within the fabric of what you call a teacher of self-recognition that you have not and will not recognizing and will become a whole part of what you really are within your own mind. I've set it up in this factor. I decided to do it. And if you don't have your copy yet of what A Course in Miracles is, get one. Because I'm going to demonstrate it now to you in the idea of those sequences of time. And I want you to see that I can practice on a day-by-day basis. When I came into this fabric this morning, I say, what is going on here? This association of time is expressing a consciousness idea of self-concept in which he is telling me I can change my mind about what I thought I was and that I will be entirely different because I am entirely different each moment. Each moment I have decided not to hold on to myself in these first 50 lessons, or particularly these first 10 lessons. I have discovered a brand new me, so that I may now come out into the world. I may sit with you in the idea of the lessons that we're going to perform together. And at any moment, in the verbalization of what I'm offering you, in the recognition of the teaching devices, we discover first, you're only teaching yourself. Second, you're only hearing what you want to hear. Third, what you want to hear is changing all the time. It's changing all the time. Good. The progress that you're making, important, doesn't have anything to do with your concepts at all. It may momentarily have to do with your emotional evaluation of yourself because you're involved in a need to find out who you are. Feel all the joy and love that's going to result in pain and loneliness and death in your self-identity. That's the only reason you need me. Look, the first 10 lessons in this miracle of conversion, of the recognition of the factoring of light, that have showed you directly that while your objection will be immediate to it, your objection has nothing to do with the entirety of what you are. Shall we look why? You have based the idea of who you are to objecting to what I know that you are in my illumination. But once we begin to share the idea of that there's another way to look at this, we begin to enjoy another way to look at it. And that's what we're going to do right now. Right now. Right here. Right here. Listen. Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is I see nothing and nothing has no meaning. Here comes number 2. I have given what I see all the meaning that it has for me. I have judged everything I look upon, and it is this and only this that I see, and this is not vision. The third day, I don't understand anything that I'm seeing. how could I understand what I see when I have judged it separately and tried to discover who I am? On the fourth day, I got the thoughts that I'm having about myself don't mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware don't mean anything because I'm trying to think without God. So what I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts at all. My real thoughts are the thoughts that I think with God. Number 5, you look with me. I am not actually upset for the reason that I think. I'm upset because I don't know who I am or how to look at this. But I'm never upset for the reasons I think because I'm constantly trying to justify my thoughts about who I am. Here they are in review. Nothing I see means anything. I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. These thoughts do not mean anything. And I'm very upset, okay, but not for the reasons in which I think I'm upset. How'd you do? Was that the 5th day?
Yes.
How'd you do with that? That looked pretty good. Now, what I'm teaching you in the increase in frequency, if I have 50 lessons, that those first 5 lessons that you do will only be 1 day. So that when you did them, rather than taking that length of time, you shortened the distance of your own mind between the activities of your mind and have become more inclusive with the possibility that you could actually decide in the next 5 lessons, which ostensibly would be what I am going to perform when I got up this morning, will be indications that while I am still objecting strongly to what you are offering me, I have become to notice that there's a factor of light in the recognition of myself that is carrying a particular message that doesn't seem to vary. In other words, no matter how determined I am not to accept it, and obviously that's why I'm here, the one thing I'm afraid to do, obviously, is to accept my certainty that I'm whole and perfect as I was created. But in order not to accept it, okay, the idea that I'm whole, I must set up defenses of what I am. Look, this does not preclude the idea that the factoring of the message will be the indication of the truth of me, listen, regardless of my determination to deny it. Of course you're going to deny it. Why do you think you need the mind training? Why would you need an idea of yourself? I'm representing a teacher now, of the illumination of your mind, except you recognize in lesson number 6 that I don't understand that and I don't believe it means that. Oh, okay. Or in 7, or in 8, or in 9, or in lesson number 10, which we're going to do today, which we're going to do right now. That conversion right there. We're going to sit together now and increase the frequency that we're not actually concerned about how long this is going to take. However long it takes, it will be accomplished by you. And each time you make a decision, you remember with me that nothing is ever lost. We accumulate ideas in our mind about what we want to see, about the mind training of our individual mind. Listen. I'm upset because I see what is not there. Oh, reality is never frightening, and it's impossible that it could upset me, but boy am I upset. So I must be seeing something that's not there, because why? I'm seeing what's already over number 7. I'm seeing only the past. As I look, I condemn the world that I look upon, and I call this seeing. And I hold the past against everyone and everything that I see. What I've obviously forgotten is that I'm causing it myself. Because my past identity in lesson number 8 is preoccupied with past thoughts. All I'm getting out of myself are ideas that I want to hold about thoughts I have about myself, because in lesson number 9, I'm going to discover that I am actually seeing nothing as it is right now within the focus of what I want to see. And this is going to get me to lesson number 10, which would be the second day. And that would be the idea that whatever I'm thinking, it doesn't mean anything. I'm here. I'm back with you for a moment. That second day, those 5 lessons on that second day, just for that moment, here now we're all students, we're trying to teach each other about who we are. Was there an advantage to that? Just at that moment, did you see that all of your meaningless thoughts about yourself, at the minimum, are going to be over? They don't require a re-examination in hopes that you can make them real now. But it does require the admission in the reasonable facsimile that if it's always going to be over and gone in any regard, the factor of my self-recognition of myself will be contained within those first 10 lessons. Is that so? Look with me. How's that going with you? Is this exciting? See, we've structured this within the ideas that from now on you may use this faculty of this Course in Miracles book, listen, with no regard at all to what it says conceptually, with no regard to the body whatsoever. Finally, dear ones, I got to get you to look at the idea that whatever factor you're holding in your mind in regard to what you think you are concern me not in the slightest. I'm going to use science for a minute. I'm in the science of your mind, in the reasonable idea that you know perfectly well, both in time and in space, there's something else going on in the activity of the power of our mind. And where we're going to find it will be in lessons that appear to run from 10 to 15 on what seem to be the first 15 days, but at any moment can be reduced to any cycle of time in which you want to recognize yourself. Will you listen to me? Look, we got to lesson number 11. Listen to what it says. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I'm aware don't mean anything, the world that pictures them can also have no meaning. Wow. Here's number 12. It's exciting. I'm upset. I'm getting very unhappy with what you're trying to get me to look at. I have no intention of doing it, and I'm going to go back out into the world and practice my certainty of who I am, because I'm upset because I'm seeing something that has no meaning. Wow. Insane thoughts are upsetting to me, and I'm upset. I've already admitted I don't know who I am, but I think I can find the solution, because I have become fearful in lesson number 13, that because I don't see anything, I'm afraid. Of course you're afraid. You're afraid because you don't know who you are, where you're going, or what you've done. This got me to crucial lesson number 14, which says very simply that God, the reality of who I am and everything that I think I am, could not possibly have created for all of eternal life something that doesn't have any meaning. How can a meaningless world exist if God did not create it, since He is the source of all the meaning and everything that are real within my own mind? And here's the crucial evidence of why I have combined this idea to your idea of what you thought you are in the images of yourself. Listen, number 15. My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me what I am and what I see. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death show me that I am seeing the representation of the thoughts I have about myself in the picture of myself. I'm with you now. Thank you for that 15-day interlude in which, as you look in retrospect about the idea that in the first hour of this association, we came together to show each other that in the hologram of the reflection of light in which we identify ourselves, we have been picturing, these are the first 15 lessons now, or the first 3 days, okay? Or the first 15 minutes, or the recognition that the cycle of time in which we've arrived at the idea that the reflection of light I'm getting is not actually who I am, or the manner in which I have recognized myself in the mind training. I'm going to assume responsibility for an alternative that I want, even though I can't recognize it. Yet each time I appear to recognize it, I feel, at least for that moment, the joy that you perhaps, in your own factoring of a hologram of time, say to me, I have recognized myself.
I have recognized myself.
Thank you for these first 15 lessons, dear one. I love it. All you really had to decide was the practice of it. Listen with me. There's no requirement that you believe it. In fact, everything that you do within the perspective of your identity of space-time is a provision for you not to accept it. Can you see why? As long as you can maintain an idea of fear within your mind, the idea of loss and pain and loneliness, you can protect yourself. Shall we share why? If you lose the ideas of who you thought you were, say to me, I'll be someone else.
I'll be someone else.
Of course. All you really learned in the first 15 lessons from me is that who you thought you were in the idea of the captivity of the space-time reference in the reflection of light are not who you are. I have come to you now in the mind training sequence of your mind to offer you another solution of the presence of you, let's use me now, in that reflection of light. That's first 15 days. They've shown you what could have taken 20,000 years. What you discovered with me, that all of the memories that I have of myself in my entirety, including all of the pain, all of the unhappiness, all of the loss, all of the sorrow, all of the things that I have gone, that I have valued within my own identity, within the power of my mind, to decide the outcome that I want, are simply a decision within the fabric of time. Say to me, I want to see differently.
I want to see differently.
Thank you for that. I'm going to leave you now within the factory of the hologram in order to show you the quantum moment of your reappearance in time as we attempt to go beyond the first 15 days to the idea that they have become accumulative in your mind in the power of decision you have made in regard to yourself. God is with us wherever we go, isn't he? I'm excited at the prospect that you're going to look at lesson 16 with me. I'll be right back. You're carrying it around with you, aren't you? You're feeling the joy of participating. You're sharing with me the idea that all of us are blessed together. Everyone. we're sitting together in that solution, in that illumination of mind, in that illumination of mind, in that illumination of
serce jak szaleje.
Okay, that was a little mistake from Poland. That's the next video. Okay, thank you so much for this reminder, Devavan, and let's open up the microphones and see. That half hour went very fast by in my mind, so it communicated immensely fast, and thank you.
Well, it fits in really well with today's lesson. As Gloria was talking about when we first came on, whatever suffers is not part of me. And so I always liked God did not create a meaningless world. And I also often have used the lesson, I'm upset because I see what is not there. And so whatever suffers that I do see is not even really there, but it is part of my insane thinking. And so it's just nice to just keep being reminded that it's up to me to release those thoughts and to continue to remember God didn't have nothing to do with reality. I like the simple statement, reality is never frightening. And that's in the one, God did not, or I'm upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. So if I'm seeing something that's frightening me, it has nothing to do with reality. It really doesn't even exist. And I'm living, I'm hallucinating. In that moment, I'm hallucinating. And that's nice, you know, because I can decide to let go of it. Relax.
Thank you, Karen. And it shows me also how crucial that recognition or that reminder is through the lessons. And yet, of course, I'm also aware that it is really just in the moment where I learned that through seeing it in the moment. When it seems so real to be there. And then, okay, I'm actually just looking at something that isn't really there. And that my belief actually that it would be there is where the upset would start. And of course, it is then about the miracle as saving time and seeing, wow, I actually can change that perspective like immediately, like this. And I don't need to be wallowing in whatever it means and analysis and all that and what to do now with that, but going straight to this is a dream and I'm dreaming that, and I can also dream a dream that happy children play, and that means it is a dream of remembering who I am, who we are, and that there is only, as you clarified, there's only one reality, that is God. There is only love, and I cannot give anything besides that love that represents creative thought and represents God himself. So yeah, it's that entire mind training, especially these first essential lessons, definitely something that need to be looked at very with, let's say, with determination and perseverance. No? It's not just a teaching that can be overlooked, no? Because it is a completely new way of seeing. Thank you.
And what you said, basically it becomes how my skill becomes how quickly can I release? How, because stuff is going to come up until it doesn't come up. It just is going to be there until it's not there anymore. So I either linger in that stuff, so to speak, or in the pain, or in the judgment, or in the misperception, or I mean, I can learn to release more and more quickly. And even dear one would get a little angry at times or have a judgment, but he released like so fast, it was just gone. So it's that lesson where it talks about, will you hold the sword above your head? And are you going to be angry? Are you going to sit in that anger? Are you holding that sword above your head or above your brother's head? And what you decide to do, it will either fall or you won't have to deal with it. And so it's learning, as you were saying, Devavan, to release, to let go, really remembering reality is never frightening. Think with God. So we missed you, Gloria. Where did you
Sorry
go?
for my little technological difficulty. I just got dropped out, but fortunately it's back on.
We both got dropped out for a moment today.
Oh, we did? Oh, okay. Yes, I know. I don't
Yeah.
know what that was, but
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm trying to get with what I was saying, but I really think what MT was talking about being responsible for what I see in these first lessons is also so important. And I know for me, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Number 11, I tied that to my grievances hide the light of the world from me. And I've worked with both of those lessons simultaneously to quite some extent. And I remember years back, I was teaching somewhere, and when we got to the area of responsibility for sight, she came up to me and she's like, don't do that. I'm like, excuse me. She's like, no one's going to like that part. They don't want it. And I said, well, that's the crux of the entire course. And honestly, yes, but the gift of that is that I'm responsible for what I see, but I can make another choice. So I can change my mind. That gives us the power. Our power of decision is my own and gives us our power back. So I try to present it in that light. And for me, it's the crux of the course, taking responsibility for what we see. And I'm trying to think what else he said. Yeah, also too, the recognition that we're whole and perfect, and we gloss over these things, but Jesus tells us all the time that this is what I am. And we're just like, oh, well, that sounds like, we don't believe it. But the idea is to get that belief out of the way with the lie in it, belief, LIE, and move into that state of grace where we're receptive to, like he always says, that one singular reality, that one singular mind, which is the voice for Christ. So it was something else too, and he was talking about like readiness comes in. The other day that was coming up, people were saying, well, I'm not ready. But ultimately, if you look into that a little bit more deeply, you recognize that I am not willing. I'm not willing to say that maybe something I see is incorrect and allow it to be reinterpreted for us with that idea of, I'm determined to see things differently. So that's what I got from today. And I loved it. I love the first 50 lessons. I think they're just so important in the, the bottom of everything, the bottom line of turning it over. So thanks.
Thank you, Clara. Yeah, and there's also something with it. Of course, the mind training is prescribed to do one lesson at a time, and in the review, Jesus offers the 5 lessons per day for those 10 days of reviewing the first 50 lessons, and between 61 and 51 and 60. And even to bring it together in that context of reviewing those first 50 lessons and also seeing how much do I really live that, because it just is from every perspective looked at those first 50 lessons. From lesson 35 on, it goes into the holiness lesson, and from 41 to 50, it's all about God. No? So the first 34 lessons are definitely pondering the change of mind, and hey, there is a complete different way of looking at this. And I see the same thing as you were sharing, Florian, that I might teach in one of the classes whatever lesson, and out of a sudden comes in my mind one lesson from these early lessons, né? And how they just interconnected perfectly well, especially those lessons around I see only the past, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts, and then even going, okay, nothing I see means anything. Yeah? And it's once that is really so absorbed in the consciousness that it is applied and lived with. And then I could also tell how a relaxation in the mind and consciousness would take place, and okay, everything is okay. It's okay that I still see images, because there's the recognition of what is true, and as Karen said, reality is never frightening, that it doesn't threaten me or cannot really affect me at all. Those are all the immense results in the transformative process, or in how I bring my own making home, because otherwise I would always keep it under the carpet or in some corner. Okay, I'm not going to look at that, because it was obviously too threatening to take them with me in complete acceptance, in complete love and forgiveness and gratitude that they are teaching me.
You know, what Glorian was talking about, readiness, that really it's not being willing as opposed to not being ready. As awareness opens up, you know that nothing comes to you if you're not ready for it, or else it doesn't come into your arena, of thought or anything, and it's just not available. And so the Course, everyone that receives the Course, and in my mind, is ready to receive the Course, or you wouldn't be receiving it. But if a person feels like they're not ready, it's so gentle, in that, Jesus says, like in the review lessons, I don't know which reviews, but it says, now we are increasing your readiness with this next set of lessons, or with this review, or whatever. And so if a person just can allow themselves to be gentle with themselves, just hear what's being said. Yes, you are responsible. If you're not ready or feel willing yet at this point, it's okay. Just continue to go through the lessons. That's all Jesus asks. Continue to go through the lessons, even if you don't understand, even if it doesn't seem to make sense, even if you don't believe them. Just go through the lessons, because it is the light that will create the environment that allows you to come to that point where you can be willing, or where you can accept, or where it starts to make sense, and that fits in for you. But everybody, if you receive the Course, you're ready to receive the Course, or anything that you receive, any point of light or expansion in your mind.
That was beautifully expressed. I love that, Sharon. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it also, that we just, and if we feel we're not ready, but like you said, if we get the Course or something comes before us, it's our opportunity. And if we see it, we own it. So there is something there. I think also, as far as readiness, it's so important. And, Joel makes very big emphasis on the stillness. And I really do feel like what you were saying about not, maybe not understanding it and just accepting it. But when we take it within our center, and we allow the Holy Spirit to work with us. It is revealed. Revelation does come,
Right.
inspiration
Yeah.
does come, and illumination once we are out of the way. So then again, it you know, and I'm certainly not saying everybody's journey is there where they are, and wherever anyone seemingly is, I totally 100% agree in gentleness. Just speaking from my own perspective and my own feeling is, if I'm resisting something, I'm making it real, and I'm giving it that meaning. So I have to look at that. And the way to do that is to go within and just listen to spirit, help me see it differently. But this is for me. And what you said before about images, my thoughts are images that I have made. And once we recognize that this is just an image, that makes it the illusion. And we can actually just walk right through that. So we practice recognizing this is a concept that I have, but beyond all concepts is the light. And the bottom of everything, God is the substance of all form. So we just hold steadfast to that. Even if we do seemingly see something, it's our gift. Whatever we see is a gift. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. My grievances hide the light of the world in me, but I can make another choice. So that's what I love about the Course, because it's your way out. It shows you how to look within, and then how to step out of the dream of death. Thanks.
Yeah, nice, Karen. And glad that you mentioned also the resistance, no? Because the resistance is really the that energy that needs to be made up in order to hold it real, no? And because the nature of the mind would be to completely let go and receive, no? And receive what is already there, no? Let it reveal what is already there. And that's really the only thing that needs training, no? To see, okay, here is still a residue of resistance, and I'm willing to give that to Holy Spirit, and no longer to exercise it, no? In order to, in that sense, define myself or keep this false existence of the dream imagery up, no? And pretend, well, this is my reality and has to be, no? And so it is all about the giving the resistance to him and asking for the undoing. And the undoing is also part of the mind training, because it's about a value system. I'm replacing actively that limited value with a higher value that is completely representing God and has no opposite in that sense. There is nothing that comes close to that value. It's a one value.
One other thing, when Glorian was speaking, that in the stillness, that so much is revealed, the light is revealed. Some of my biggest experiences have been when I have not just even been sitting like in meditation, but it's more like if you're in a moment of peace, real peace, you can feel it, like, deep cellularly, you can feel such peace. In a moment of peace, like I remember once I had taken a trip with a friend to Hawaii, and I was walking on the beach, and I just felt totally freed from everything, and had this, just an incredible light experience, where something was a revelatory experience of God and alignment with God, and that's happened in different ways. Once, years ago, before I ever met the Course, when I was doing yoga, and I felt completely so peaceful, and it was my first experience I had where it came in, I am God. I mean, and I can't say Karen is God, obviously, but who the truth of me is that with God, one with God. And I remember the mistake I made. Once I saw my father, who was very ill, and he was passing, and I felt like I wanted to help him so much, and I said, "Dad, it's okay. I had an experience. And I tried to express it to him, and it scared him. And I learned very early on, these are things you don't share, until people are really, don't throw your pearls to, whoever that aren't ready anyways. I don't want to say swine because nobody's swine, but don't throw your pearls to where they're not ready to be accepted. So, but peace is the bridge that everyone must cross to leave this world behind. And peace is what brings revelation, stillness in whatever form.
That's beautiful. And it was funny because for me, when I first got into the course, I was like 31. So I had children running around, going to ball fields, doing this. And, how can I make time for the stillness? But I got into the practice of moving myself into the presence. And then I could be anywhere and just be in that presence. So I got in the habit of, okay, before I leave the house, who walks with me type thing, wearing, and that I think is helpful because we can't all day long, every day, be in a state of, it becomes, just a part of you that you're able to just still that mind at will, just change up, like who walks with me or whatever it is that we want to say to move us into the presence. So Joel will talk about practicing the presence. And I think, having had that be my experience with having a family and all that, I had to kind of incorporate meditation into with other things going on, just being able to move distance from that and recognize, keep that presence with me. And what you said something about resistance, which was really good, Devavan. I can't think of what it was now, but the idea is if we're resisting something, we are picking up that identification with the body, which is the grievance. So if we can catch it and recognize that if I have resistance to something, I'm in a grievance, and grievance is association with the body, and just be willing to step back from that and let it go. So I forget exactly what you said, but I think it's along those same lines, maybe just different words for that.
It was maybe it was about the necessity to hold up this false existence. Now I'm here as a body, and I need to be part of that dream imagery, because otherwise I'm into nothing and I can't deal with that. And would the fear come in that we know as a separated human being, but that changed, that's really for me, by the grace of God, the miracle that revealed itself. There was no doing on our part. That was literally, okay, I have no use of that anymore. That doesn't have any value anymore, to keep up a fear against who I truly am. Yeah, okay, last words, and then I have still a song to get out of here.
Beautiful. Thanks for everything you're sharing. So nice.
Christiane, you're smiling. Great. Wonderful. That's good. Thank you. All right.
Christiane.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
everyone.
much love. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.